Welcome back. Joining me with more insights on the day's trade is Graeme Franck from PSG Wealth Sandton Grayston. Graeme, thanks so much for your time today. Now let's kick things off with general markets action. It's been a really volatile week across the board with the macro and geopolitical picture under the spotlight this week. We also had some company news, which we will get to. But what have you made of trade this week? It seems like we need to prepare for more volatility ahead.
Yeah, 100%. You don't really know what's worse, the geopolitics in South Africa or in the US at the moment. So obviously we had the budget that was canned as a result of the veto of the 2% VAT increase. We continue to get executive orders out of Donald Trump and threats to other geopolitics. But surprisingly, that said, the market hasn't been that volatile this week. If I look at the Rand, when we had that sort of surprise announcement on the budget, the Rand weakened by 0.5%, at its worst 1%, and then has come back quite nicely. So most people that I speak to are still scratching their heads as to why the Rand is surprisingly strong, given political uncertainty and given all these threats in terms of trade from Trump and Marco Rubio in the US. But other than that, the market's been strong, and the Naspers has been driving it.
And really interesting to see that playing out in our markets. As you mentioned, the Rand, it did dip, but really, really strong. I think the last time I checked it was around the 18.33-35 level to the dollar, as well as the JSE. Initially, we did see some losses on Wednesday, but it seems to have steadily recovered. So yeah, it's really interesting to see that play out and to also try and figure out what is actually driving sentiment. I want us to take a look at some company news at the moment. Walmart really spooking investors overnight, saying profit growth will slow. That share price tumbled on the back of the news. Just your take on those numbers and what it could possibly, suggest for the U.S. economy and the U.S. consumer in particular, considering that there have been fears around higher inflation.
Yeah, 100%. So Walmart came out, as you say, these were quarterly numbers, as we always get in the US. They came out with sales at I think it was $180 billion US. And I think most importantly is that Amazon came out at the same time, which again, I suppose is an IT tech company, but it's also predominantly now a retailer, just in a different guise. And they came out with sales of $187 billion. And this is the first time that Amazon has beaten Walmart. So Amazon has now taken over as the highest turnover company in the world. And I guess the market's worried that Walmart is kind of having its lunch eaten in its more traditional retailing sectors. And, we've seen a similar thing for Costco and Target and some of the other US retailers. So I was surprised that the share price dropped quite as much as it did. But, on closer inspection, the market is worried that guys are buying more and more online and moving towards Amazon.
So would you say then that dip in the share price has more to do with what's playing out in Amazon than maybe concerns around inflation?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, the US consumer does seem to still be quite strong despite this negative print. As a company, as PSG generally, we don't really like Walmart. It's certainly not in any of our house view portfolios, whereas Amazon is still growing much stronger. Arguably, it's expensive. I see the PE there's 39 times, but the sales growth is 11 or 12%, and the earnings growth is still very, very strong. All
right. Well, something else that seems to be improving is sentiment in China. This has happened for the past few weeks now on the back of DeepSeek, and it just seems like that rally continues to run through. We saw President Xi Jinping meet up with some top tech execs, also improving sentiment on that front. Today we had numbers from Alibaba, which seem to have also excited markets. What's your take on, that Chinese tech sector?
Yeah, 100%. So basically, just to put it into perspective, the day that DeepSeek came out, I think a NVIDIA share price dropped 17% on the day, and it was trading at around $140. It went all the way down to $117 on the threat of China, DeepSeek, the Chinese techs playing catch up. And whilst we've continued to see a massive rally, as you say, in the Chinese technology sector, and that's across the board, as I say, Alibaba, Tencent has ridden the wave. We've seen that here with Naspers and Prosus. What surprised me more is the fact that NVIDIA, who was in the crosshairs at that time, their share price has come back from $170 all the way back to $140, whereas where it was prior to the announcement. So now the market's basically saying that there's room for both the US tech giants and the Chinese tech giants to grow at the same time. And we're a little bit worried on the NVIDIA valuation on the back of that. And, you know, if you're a company that can buy AI much more cheaply out of China, as opposed to very chip-heavy AI out of NVIDIA, you may well, you know, see more customers going towards China. But to answer your question, it's been a massive rally in the whole Chinese tech market, which has spurred our Naspers and Prosus. Naspers is again up 2% today. It's up about 45% in the last month alone.
And the last time I checked the JSE, the Industrial 25 was the one sort of powering through the all share. Graeme, before I let you go, let's just get your stock pick for the day.
So I'm going to go with a high risk one, Sasol. You know, it's come down dramatically. It's kind of near its all-time lows. There's been some concern, obviously, over Lake Charles. What's quite surprising is the CEO came out a few weeks ago and said they may look to list Lake Charles separately, and the share price bounced quite a bit, and then it's come all the way off. So I think either activist shareholders are going to start getting involved. The company may be broken up, listed Lake Charles separately. But as I say, it's quite a high-risk one, but with the valuation where it is now, I think there's scope for quite a dramatic bounce.
You know, Graeme, it seems like a number of our analysts today are taking risks because you're not the first person to choose Sasol today. And they're also out with results on Monday. So I guess we'll get an update on how the group is performing. Graeme, thanks so much for joining us and taking us through the day's trading session. That was Graeme Franck from PSG Wealth Sandton Grayston.